Hi, welcome to another video. So today I thought I'd give you a look at what I'm doing. I've come to the end of my patience with these PIC32 microcontrollers. I developed this board for the PIC32 2048 EFH144 running at 252 megs. So this is a spare board. This is actually an ECH, because the board with the EFH252 is currently with a microchip technician. I designed this board. There's 4-layer, so it costs nearly £100 for a couple of them. 4-layer PCB with the EFH144, and I had 8 gigs of SRAM, and that RAM is clocked at 50 megs using the EBI by microchip, so external bus interface. This was a second board, and I've got the connector on back to front, so I had to bodge it, but with the EFH144 at 252 megs, I thought I'd capture some of the screen, the TFT running 800 by 480, capture some of it like 2 or 3 times, store it into the SRAM, and then put it back out onto the display very quickly. Except when I went to capture the picture, the EFH would stop and the screen would go black. Contacted Microelectronica, they weren't interested because that program had worked previously on other devices. So I contacted Microchip and eventually sent them the board, and they've now had that board for longer than I have. This was an early revision, and I got one track in the wrong place. This was one of my first goes without any LEDs for the SRAM. This SRAM is actually too slow. This only runs at sort of 15 nanoseconds clock. The 50 megs SRAM has a 10 nanosecond clock. Because I like graphics, I sort of come to the end of what I can do with a 32-bit microcontroller. Incidentally, this ECH144, there's so many hardware glitches, it's unreal. The I2C doesn't issue a stop command, for example, so you have to implement Microelectronica's soft I2C to communicate with this real-time clock calendar. I have the regular MMC card, battery backup for the clock. That was programming. Is 8 gigs SRAM. And these LEDs, they're the address, some of the address LEDs up here, and some of the data. And as I say, that's implementing Microchip's EBI, external bus interface. Whilst I haven't got my PIC32 board and display, I thought I'd dig this out from the cupboard. I've had it for a good 3-4 years. However, this was designed over 10 years ago. So it's the Texas Instruments Sitara ARM processors. You can see there, AM335X starter kit, which is this. You can still buy it today from Farnell and Mouser. Maybe other people still do it. This whole board centers around this Texas Instruments AM335X processor, and it's an ARM A8 running, I believe this one runs up to 720 megahertz. There's I think 256 megs of DDR2 memory here, and various other controllers to control the Ethernet, USB, memory card, Wi-Fi, obviously a touchscreen controller somewhere. It's packed. Oh, you can see there, FTDI chip, that's obviously for the USB and communication interface. So this board, out of the box, the Wi-Fi didn't work, and I got on the internet, this is years ago, sort of 3-4 years ago, I think they say you have to remove a component from down here, buy this external interface for the aerial, and sort your own aerial out, because there's a problem with the onboard aerial. Processor, DDR2 memory. There's an audio output here, and obviously, and that's a power jack. I believe that's the same as the BeagleBone Black Wireless, which I have here in front of me. 2mm centre and a 6.5mm diameter outside. But I had a look on DigiKey. So the plugs available for these, 2mm centre and 5.5 outer diameter. So presumably you've got a bit of slack, a bit of movement. So Ethernet, USB, host, audio, power, and this is currently the 400 by 272 TFT with touchscreen. Yeah, these 4 buttons mimic the 4 buttons on a mobile phone. You've got a power button on the back where you press this button and it boots up. I'll show you in a minute. Right, so from this Sitara AM335, so ARM Cortex A8, although this says 9, 720 megahertz. As I say, DDR2. From this was born the BeagleBone. Now this is some years on. Even the BeagleBone was developed many, what is it, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't know, many years ago. We had the BeagleBone board. It was white, then I think they had green. They've got many different revisions now, but this is a BeagleBone Black Wireless. So in this Octavo package, so Octavo, I believe they are also in Texas, probably next door to Texas Instruments. So this Octavo OSD 335X, hello, 335X, in this processor you've got Texas Instruments AM335 ARM Cortex A8 processor combined with 512 megabytes of DDR3 memory, a power management controller and some sort of low dropout regulator. So they call this a system in package. So it's already got the DDR memory enclosed. And now, whereas earlier versions you had to boot up off an external memory card, say a 4 gig, one of these, now got this 4 gigs of eMMC, so embedded multimedia card. It's much faster than the conventional memory cards. As I say, 4 gigs, E is for embedded, and it can run speeds up to 400 megabytes a second. I'm pretty sure this one doesn't. It takes a long time to boot up. But yeah, so 4 gigs internal storage. So this BeagleBone Black Wireless is 2 days old. So do you think I could get this connected to Windows 10? No, not until I replace this connector actually. But I saw loads of horror stories on the internet whilst trying to figure out why this wouldn't connect. You have to get onto FTDI chip because Windows doesn't like the non-signed digital drivers for the virtual COM port drivers, which you would use on this USB connector down here to connect to your computer. And once you're connected to your computer, you can dial up an internet page via Firefox or Chrome, which is embedded in here. Also saw other tutorials on trying to get the Wi-Fi connected, But once you're connected to your PC, I'll give you a quick demonstration later, some files come up in File Explorer, in Windows File Explorer, that are in here, and there's some couple of internet pages. You click on them, a page opens up, and you've got all the instructions on how to set up the wireless and update and upgrade the software. Now, speaking of upgrading the software, that's one of the downfalls of this. I wish I got this out of the cupboard last year, because this is currently running Android Ice Cream Sandwich version, which is just before Jelly Bean, and Android Studio no longer accommodates our software, so I cannot update this. Texas Instruments have a ton of files on their website, also a ton of broken links because the software is so old now. I cannot get later software to run on this. Their files that are meant to install Jelly Bean do not work. I can format this, run a file by Texas Instruments that's meant to put Jelly Bean onto it, and all it does is erase this card. And for any of that to happen, you need a Linux PC. So I've got a Kingston hard drive running Windows, and that does the car diagnostics, and then I've got a Samsung hard drive running Linux. This is actually Ubuntu, whereas the Linux system on this is Debian. Yeah, so I'm very disappointed with the software from Texas Instruments. This is old, outdated, and do you think I can update it, get any of their software to work? No, it's garbage. You can probably hear the USB starting up and then stopping. Right, so that's keeping some tension on this board here, as if I was pushing these connectors down onto the PCB. But I've inspected these pads and they're all soldered. So whether the plastic is broken from the pins underneath, but it's a really fine pitch, difficult to solder, so I'm thinking about just taking this off. But then you've got the LEDs underneath, and I don't want them to fall off. But here we are. Well, I've got that. That's what you get with an intermittent USB connector. I've faced that for hours and hours. It said Windows doesn't recognise the USB device, or it could be faulty. So I've been chasing my tail, flashing this with loads of different versions of software going back years and years. When I got this, the software was from 2016. I flashed it with the latest software, and some of the files come up from 2018. So that software has not been updated since 2018, and we are now February 2021. So yeah, brand new BeagleBone Black Wireless. Is it a Thoroughbred BeagleBone, or is it Heinz 57? But if I just tip this connector up slightly, so it just came on. Oh, this came on and went off, and now I've got the USB device not recognised again. Close it down. I set the board like that. I hold that there, and you can see we've got our BeagleBone. So I believe the idea behind this complete package, this starter kit by Texas Instruments, was to prove the concept. Buy a platform with the ARM A8 processor, touchscreen, buttons, and see if it would suit your needs. Let me power this up. Like a mobile phone, you just simply hold a button down. So this one's on the back. Press that. I'll turn this light off for a second. And you'll see it's booting up with an Android interface. 2 memory cards come with the device. So you've got the Android, which is based around a Linux system, and you've got a Linux card, which is just pure Linux. So now straight away you can see I've been at this. That's Mandy photobombing me in Paris. So touchscreen works nicely. So you can see it booted up, the Wi-Fi kicked in, which is just here, and it picked up the time. And I've got I've moved one of the logos. I can change this clock. Now this display uses alpha blending, so you've actually effectively got 2 pictures in one. So you've got the bitmap in the background and then the clock on top. Which is funny because if you've seen any of my microcontroller projects, most of them have got a big clock in the middle. That's all I actually want. I want to get into this software, get rid of all the stuff I don't want, and have a clock. And, you know, changing pictures. But I'll give you a quick demo. So that's a normal analog clock. You've got games on here, chess, our frozen bubble, thermostat. So this thermostat's developed by Crank, and you can download their software for a 30-day evaluation period, but it's just to evaluate the software. So this is like a thermostat, a dummy thermostat. So you simply move that up and down and see the temperature changing, or touch that, you can touch it there. What I'm not sure about, which is why I haven't got the software yet, these are only graphics and they don't interface with the hardware, unless I'm mistaken. Storyboard demo. Crank software, so look, medical demo. I'll just do a very quick example. Right, so just various moving images. I don't know. Can't really adjust anything on here. You can set alarms for different measurements. Dashboard. So speedo. If I click on that one, so you've got a rev counter and a speedo. But this is obviously 400 by 272. But the graphics, 3D graphics accelerator is capable of driving a much bigger display. It's just to prove a concept. Yes, you've got an internet browser. You can plug a camera into the USB port. Email, clock, calendar. Oh, it plays movie. Oh, there's Frozen Bubble, which I've actually been playing. It's quite good fun. It's a gallery for the pictures. Gives you small thumbnails and then blows them up. Oh, videos while I'm here then. So Big Bunny or Big Buck Bunny. So obviously having that 720 megahertz processor, it's powerful enough to render graphics or moving graphics. And if I had a speaker, I could plug the speaker in here and you do get audio with it as well. So it's cool, I like it. Chess, and I can't play chess. Now, I'm pretty sure the early Beagle boards didn't have the Octavio processors or the system in package processors. So although this says 512 meg, I know it's got 512 meg DDR3 memory. That processor's also got 512 meg of RAM. Yeah, this is, as I say, the embedded multimedia card. This is an HDMI controller. Unfortunately, I don't have a micro HDMI connector, so I can't run it up on my own screen. And although the board's brand new, do you think this connector would work? I could touch the cable. I think it looked dirty inside. So it's a cheap 1 cent connector that's faulty from new. It's not my month for parts. Faulty turbo at the beginning of the week. Faulty brand new BeagleBone Black Wireless at the end of the week. It took me hours and hours trying to get it to connect to Windows, and it wouldn't, all because of that connector. That USB connector there. And because I was developing that other board with the PIC microcontroller, I had some of these. I wasn't sure which connector to go for, the A or the B, so I had these B connectors from lcsc.com. These are like, I don't know, 5 pence each or something. I've had them sitting around for a few months. I thought, is that coincidental or what? That's the very connector I need for this. There's a link on the BeagleBone site about going to FTDI chip. Do follow that link if you're running Windows 10 and download the virtual COM port drivers, D2XX. So if you look at that page there, scroll down to the bottom of the page, Windows RT, Linux, Mac. That's the file you need there, or 64-bit. That one there, download it and run it. That will give you up-to-date drivers for Windows 10. What I forgot to show you quickly on this, 3D graphics. So there's a vase, smooth 3D rendering. Home button. There we are. So it is impressive if you're coming from a microcontroller. As I say, the only thing that lets these down is the software from Texas Instruments. It's running old software, and their new software, when followed to the letter, doesn't work. I've been trying to upgrade this to Jelly Bean for weeks, and their software just, well, it's corrupt, it doesn't work. But the funny thing is, one of the co-founders of this BeagleBone board works for Texas Instruments. Whether he did initially, as this was developed, I'm not sure. But yeah, nonetheless, this will give me all the pinouts, all the I2C, UART, SPI. I think I saw CAN, and this hasn't really got any pinouts I can have access to. So when you have a good USB connector and you can connect to Windows, File Manager should open on Windows 10. This is the software in that embedded MMC card, and you can't get it wrong. As far as it looks, Start and README. If it defaults to Windows Edge or Explorer, just right click Properties and open with Chrome, Firefox. So here's one of the pages of the Start HTM. It tells you all the instructions are there. It says get the latest software. Go to the latest software. Recommended Debian images depending on what board you got. So the X15, which I think that number comes from its speed. I looked into it. That's a £200 board running at 1.5 gigs, whereas this BeagleBone Black Wireless runs at 1 gig. That Sitara ARM processor starter kit from, I don't know, a decade ago runs at 720 megs. So you see there, Pocket Beagle, BeagleBone Black, a Black Wireless, and that top one for the X15 and BeagleBone AI. So they're the images if you want to, you can see there 8 gig, 4 gig SD card you need. They're the images so that the system boots from that image on a memory card. Lower down, there's really the same images, except one of the files has been edited to allow it to be flashed onto the BeagleBone board itself. But in the instructions, they still tell you how you can flash one of these images. Simply take the card, put it into a Linux machine, edit one line, take out a hash or pound symbol, and that's it, becomes a flasher image. Actually, I misread that. So special images, flasher Debian images. Before getting the latest image, you can mess about with the system you currently have. It's telling you to download Balena Etcher, which is just a program to copy an image file onto an SD card, and it formats it ready for a Debian or Ubuntu system, not Windows. So you won't be able to read it with a Windows PC. Need a Linux PC. But scroll down. Once you're connected to the internet, or once you're connected to your PC, click on this web link there, look, 192.168.7.2 Cloud 9, which I saw is a series on Netflix. Well, and this is the page it opens to. So how to upgrade the software. This is a Debian window here, and this is where you type the commands that they tell you to type. And the first page, look, need to connect to Wi-Fi, you type these bits in black, and if there's long lines of code for this, you don't have to copy it all out. You can simply right click, copy, and then in here Control V to paste it. That is how you connect your Wi-Fi. And then once you've connected to your Wi-Fi, it tells you how to upgrade. So get connected to the internet, update your boot scripts and Linux kernel, update distribution components, and update examples in the Cloud 9 IDE workspace. So it's all there for you. So I am impressed with the power and performance of the predecessor, the Sitara ARM starter kit, and can't wait to get this going. Hopefully you found this informative and helpful. Thank you for watching.